All right, everybody, welcome into another Auburn Live basketball show. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Special guest today, assistant coach Stephen Pearl is in the house. Stephen, what's up, man?
What's up, Hope? How you doing?
Good, hanging in there. I know you guys are happy about a bye week. Finally.
Yeah, it's been a grind. 13 straight. We're one of the last teams in the league to get a bye, and definitely needed right now for guys just to kind of get rested up a little bit, heal up a few things, a few nicks and bruises, and a couple injuries. But yeah, I mean, it was those first 13 games and the stretch that we had been on. Having played. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quad one games and 9 games. Just brutal stretch, and I thought we did a pretty decent job of managing. Probably would have liked to have gotten at least one more in that stretch. But to come out with 2 quad 1s, beating South Carolina like we did, still in a decent spot. Losing to Kentucky obviously hurt. We're going to have to win out the rest of these games if we want to have a chance at having a chance of sharing the league or winning the league. But yeah, definitely a much needed week off to kind of get back on our feet.
All right, we're going to get into the Kentucky game. We'll talk a little bit about Jaylen Williams and a lot of other stuff as we go. Real quick, shout out to our main sponsor of the show, Session Cocktail, downtown Auburn. Go check them out right there on Magnolia Avenue next to Taco Mama. Go visit them for happy hour, drinks before or after dinner on the weekends, whatever you got. Go say hey to Joe, the GM there. Tell them we sent you. Tell them you heard about it from Auburn Live. But go check them out when you're in town, or if you live in Auburn and you haven't been there, go visit them. Always love going to hang out at Session. Appreciate their sponsorship of the show, as well as GameTime.co. Game Time, sponsor of not just our show, but On 3 Sports as well. It's a great app to go get last-minute tickets for concerts or comedy shows or sporting events. Use the promo code WAREAGLE, and you get 20% off your first purchase. GameTime.co. Go check them out. A couple more home games left for Auburn, so go check them out if you're looking for tickets for Georgia or Mississippi State. Am I forgetting one?
Georgia, Mississippi State. No, those are our last two.
Yeah, Georgia and Mississippi State. So especially that Georgia game at the end of the year, I bet that'll be a hot ticket. So go check out GameTime.co. All right, let's talk about Kentucky. This Kentucky game a little bit. Tough loss. Just a sort of, not sort of, a very uncharacteristic shooting night, especially in Neville. It's been years. And it's just one of those nights where I thought there were a lot of good looks. They just didn't fall. Especially, early on, it was almost like a microcosm of what was to come. What was kind of your impressions from that game? Kentucky obviously played well. They always come in. They've got the ability. It's just whether or not they put it together or not. But what was kind of your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, having watched the game a couple times, defensively holding them to 70 points. That's their second lowest output of the year. A team that averages 90. If you had told me going into the game that they score 70 points and go 4 for 13 from the 3-point line, I said we win by 15. So, obviously I want to give Kentucky credit. They played a lot harder than what they had shown on film these last 2 games. Defensively, they're, obviously DJ Wagner is a big piece for them defensively because he's the one guy that can really get up in you and bother you with ball pressure. And he bothered our point guards with his ball pressure. There's no doubt about it. He really bothered Trey and Aiden with his ball pressure. Didn't allow us to get into our stuff. And he did a really good job with that. But to hold him to 70 points, I think we win that game every single time. So the shooting was, I think it was an anomaly, honestly. We watching the game, we had, wide open looks from 3, and 4 of our first 5 threes, like I think they all rimmed out. So
yeah.
We got decent looks, and once the shots weren't falling, just kind of lingered on for the rest of the game. So it was tough. It was tough to get into a flow. Obviously, they had a lot to do with that, just because they do a really good job. They did a really good job in this game of obviously extending their ball pressure, bothering us on drives, and they did we turned the ball over 11 times, and one of the biggest things we talked about was live ball turnovers turned into points on the other end, and they had off 11 turnovers, they scored 23 points. So that was one thing that our guys just didn't do a great job of buying in on the scouting report. We had a couple of just, bad turnovers that led to either threes or and ones on the other end. And we just you can't do that against Kentucky. So, but I thought defensively, like just watching the clip, like we played hard. We ran them off the 3-point line. We forced them to tough contested twos. Reeves goes 5 for 14 from two. So I mean, we did a good job on Shepherd, I thought, for the most part. Adu Thiero, was huge for them. I thought he with Trey Mitchell being out, he added another athletic, quick, explosive player to their roster, whereas Trey Mitchell is more of a bigger, slower, lumbering four-man that's more of a pick and pop guy. It would have been a much better matchup for us had Trey Mitchell played in this game, even though he's a really important piece to what they do. I wasn't thrilled that he didn't play in the game because I thought we matched up better with him in the game as opposed to a quicker, more athletic Thiero, who gave him just huge minutes, scoring 14 points, getting 8 rebounds. He was just a really important piece for him. So, yeah, I mean, that was tough. We had an unbelievable opportunity to put ourselves in a really good position, doing it at home with an unbelievable environment. But Kentucky came in and played hard. They hadn't shown that enough this year consistently with a young team. So they did a really good job coming in and probably getting one of the best road wins of the year, being able to come into our building and beat us for we've lost 3 times in 3 years. So, obviously that's obviously disappointing that we lost the game, but they do have all these McDonald's All-Americans. These guys are all potential. We don't have one NBA pro. They have, 6 or 7. So, at least first round guys. So they did a good job of coming in, taking advantage, and they got us on a good night because we couldn't make open shots, and we just didn't make good decisions with the ball, and it was a mixture of everything. So just obviously, we're really disappointed, and we really wanted to get that one.
Yeah, and I think bringing up the defense is a good point. Everybody, obviously, offense was a struggle, and we all saw that. But what kind of got lost in that is the defensive performance. 70 against Kentucky. Even think back to, you see what Alabama's out there doing, putting up 100 points a game, and you held them to 79 and 81. But in this one, I think the defensive effort, I think, is the players deserve some credit. Nothing's fallen on offense. It's a struggle. You're down the whole game, but the defensive effort never waned. It easily could have translated to that end, and you could have gotten lazy, and they could have gone on runs, and they could have won by 20 or something. But the defensive effort was there, and you held them down to 70 points. I mean, even Reeves scored 22, but it took him 20 shots. Dillingham 4 of 9, 11 points. Like, there's some pretty good stuff in there defensively, and I think the guys deserve some credit, I think, for hanging in there.
Yeah, I think the only game that we really kind of shut down, I thought, was at Florida. They were just the fresher team, and I think second half, like, we ended up the last 4 minutes getting it to a reasonable number to help us out with our math. But I mean, yeah, I thought even though the shots weren't falling, like, our guys continued to guard. There was a couple of just like really bad breaks on like some offensive rebounds and 50-50 balls that they got that converted to points, and like those are just deflating. So I thought for the most part, our guys really did a good job. There was a couple breakdowns on penetration. We lost a few guys, and part of those came off of offensive rebounds. So, but for the most part, you're going to make mistakes against the number 7 offensive efficiency team in the country. Just because they're that good offensively. But our defense has done a really good job of keeping us in games when we struggled offensively. And obviously you can see, like, when we defend and we're able to make shots, we beat teams by 20, 30, 40. Mm-hmm. So the offense is there. It's been way too inconsistent in our bad games. But our defense at least gives us a chance to have an opportunity to get back into it. And if we continue to do that, we'll be okay. We just can't let our defense ever be affected by a poor offensive night.
Yeah, and this is one of those games I think you finished with 11 turnovers, 11 assists. So right there at even. What makes that? If you look throughout the season, when you're about even assist to turnover or under, you've lost or struggled. When you're really good on that ratio, you're phenomenal. Obviously, outside of the obvious, don't turn the ball over. Specifically about the way this Auburn team is built, why is that so important, that assist to turnover ratio to be, you probably need 13, 14 assists and maybe 7, 8 turnovers, something like that, and then go from there. Why is that so important to this team? Because it's like clockwork. I mean, when it's good, you're good. When it's even or less, it's a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, this game is a little different because I thought, like, on our open threes, they were coming off of like hockey assists. So like we were making the extra pass and we missed wide. Like, it wasn't like we were coming off the bounce and shooting open shots. all of that stuff was like inside out and one more to the perimeter, and we were just missing just butt naked threes. So it was like, you make 4 or 5 of those, one, like we win the game, but 2, that's 15 or 16 assists and 11 turnovers. You have a positive assist turnover ratio. So I think in some games the ball sticks too much and we take bad shots, and that's why we end up having a poor offensive night. But in this game, like, did we take some bad shots? Yeah, of course. But to only have 11 turnovers, that's not bad. They did an awesome, unbelievable job of converting those turnovers. But I thought that we did an okay job of sharing the ball. But 4 for 22 from 3. Of those 18 misses, I would say, 12 of them were wide open with like no one within a couple feet of our guys. So like, at the end of the day, we got to make those shots or make half of them. You can't just like you can't miss wide open shots like that in big games. So I think that had a little bit to do with our assist numbers being down, because I thought there was after rewatching it, there was a couple plays where we made the extra pass and made the right pass. We just didn't make shots.
Obviously, the big news coming out for Auburn was Jaylen Williams leaves with about 10 minutes to go. When he's out, I think it was 7 or 8 points. You're definitely within striking difference. You had just made a run to make it 5. They had made a couple buckets. It was maybe 7 or 8. When he goes down awkwardly, and it looked bad, and then we get the report on Sunday that it's not, he doesn't need season-ending surgery. He'll just miss some time. We all know how important he is. I mean, it's been clear as day. When he plays well, Auburn wins. When he doesn't, Auburn struggles. What was maybe the feeling? What was maybe the feeling during the game? Because you could sort of feel it in the arena. I don't know how the players handle it on the bench, but you could feel a little bit in the arena, like, like it's going to be tough. What was sort of, I guess, the feeling when it happened, and then now afterwards, you feel like, okay, he's going to come back. We don't know when. And sort of what was the feeling then, and then now sort of how do you deal with it in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it was frustrating in game because, we're down, I think we were down 5 or 7 at the time. And, he goes up and he gets fouled. It's a clear foul. I mean, it's a missed call. There's no verticality there. He hits his arm, it's just a missed call. And then they go down and go on a 9-2 run after he goes down. So it's like, that's a huge swing in the game. So he made an aggressive play. Aiden makes a great pass on a back cut, which we talked about us doing on penetration, and he gets fouled. Like Jaylen, usually would go to the line and make those free throws, but if he had been out, someone else could have stepped up and made those free throws and cut the lead even more. Then they go on a big run after that. So in game, we can't really get too high or too low based on that. So like, we just knew that we had to move on to the next play and hope he was okay. After the game, obviously, you start to worry a little bit about what it could look like. And, we get the best possible news on Sunday morning that, like you said, it doesn't require season-ending injury, not only for us, but for him. This is his last year. Obviously this summer he's going to be trying to go play professionally. So it's great news for him. And, he's such an amazing kid and teammate that he doesn't deserve to have a torn ACL or anything like that. Like, he deserves to have the opportunity to go show these guys what he's been doing all year. And, there's no mystery about it. When Jaylen plays well, we're probably 20-0. When Jaylen doesn't play well, we're probably 0-6. So he's a huge piece to our team. He and Janai are probably the 2 most irreplaceable pieces on this roster. So to lose, and I think they both benefit from each other being out there. They both feed off each other because, if one of them's not playing well, they can concentrate on the other. But if they're both playing well, it's hard. Who do you decide to guard and who do you send more attention to? So, obviously it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us a lot, and it's going to hurt Janai because there's going to be a lot of, attention put on him defensively. So other guys have to step up, but we have a ton of confidence in guys like Chaney Johnson to be able to come in and obviously, eat up those minutes and do some big things for him. On the road, Chaney's been really good. He's been some of our best. He's had our best plus minus on the road, I think, of our last 3 games. He's been the one guy that's really shown up every single night and had a little bit of intensity and a little bit of grit and gave us a little bit of a spark. So if he can continue that and other guys step up and, we get some of our guards to make open shots, obviously the defense continues to stay where it is, we'll stay competitive, but there's no ifs, ands, or about it. Like, losing Jaylen's huge. It's going to hurt us. It's going to affect us, but it happening on a bye week is a good thing because now we get a couple extra days to game plan without him in there and work on a few other lineups and a few other things that we think could work with him being out. So we got our guys have got to be ready to practice this week, come ready to learn and just buy into what we're doing and try and get ready for Georgia on Saturday.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a Moneyball situation. You can't replace Jaylen 16 points. You can't replace him. You got to figure out, I guess, in the aggregate how to make up for his production. Lamore Chaney, Lamore Chad Baker, Lamore Leor. But I mean, you've played so many guys all year. Like this is where hopefully that comes into play. Like people wonder sometimes about the minute 10 guy getting all these minutes. And well, here's an example of maybe where it can pay off. Leor's played a ton of minutes. So is Chris Moore. So is Chad Baker. So is Chaney. And you hope that they can just sort of fill in and nobody's overwhelmed with a little bit more responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, people can complain all they want about what the minutes are, and like I don't really care. Like we're 20-6 at Auburn, like just get over yourself. Like it's just ridiculous. Like we know what we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing, and this is why we play the guys that we play. So when we do get an injury or something happens, like it's not a shell shock for those guys who come in and haven't been, have or have not been playing. So our guys have stayed right and stayed ready, especially at the 3 and 4 position. Like those guys have done an unbelievable job of being supportive of each other, cheering for each other, having each other's backs. So I have no doubt that, those guys will be able to step in and obviously try and replace what we're missing with Jaylen. It's going to be difficult, but I think that those guys have done a really good job of staying ready for their opportunity. So when they do get those chances, they're going to make the most of them. So, but yeah, you're right. Like our depth's been our biggest strength. So when we lose somebody like this, it's got to obviously pick it up where, pick up some of that slack and obviously try and fill in some of that void as we go on the road these next 2 games.
After the game, somebody, a reporter, used the word demoralized in describing the Kentucky game, and BP was quick to say, "Yeah, hold on, this wasn't a demoralizing loss. I'm not demoralized. Kentucky's really good. We didn't play well, disappointed, but not demoralized in the least." I guess how's the team? How's your perspective? I mean, you're sitting here 9-4 in the league. You're in great shape. You're a top 4 seed nationally. I think going into Saturday, I don't know what the latest is, but you're right around that 4 seed line, I guess, at the moment. How do you sort of deal with coming off that loss? Is that fair, disappointing, but not demoralizing in the least? I thought Bruce was really interesting, like trying to set expectations of going, hey, tough loss. We wanted to win. Don't get us wrong, but by no means is that demoralizing. And really trying to give Kentucky credit for playing well, and you move on. You got some more opportunities in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, people's definitions of demoralizing are interesting. Losing at home to Kentucky, and they're 2-6 here in their last 8 opportunities. So I mean, if that's demoralizing, then golly, like I can't imagine what happens when we lose our next one, because we're gonna lose again. Like just it's just college basketball. Like Purdue goes to Ohio State last night, and Ohio State lost their head coach, fired their head coach, and shout out to my buddy Jake Diebler, like filling in and winning that game. But it's like, if us losing at home to Kentucky is demoralizing, then I'm not sure like what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, that's demoralizing. Then damn, like I can't imagine what the Appalachian State game was if Kentucky at home is demoralizing, a team that's winning their league right now and probably going to win their league. I don't know. No, it's not demoralizing. It's just one thing that I think we've struggled with is after playing great in certain games, we've had a hard time. Obviously, it's impossible to repeat that type of performance. We beat Ole Miss by home. We were up 35. Then we come back and we lose at Alabama. That's not like surprising, but we didn't play great at Alabama. We go on the road. We beat Ole Miss. Play great. Lose at Florida. Right. Beat South Carolina by 40, who's number 11 in the country. Come back, lose at home to Kentucky. So it's just hard to stack those types of performances back to back, but it's something that we as a team have got to get better at, not getting too high after those wins and being able to come in and play better in those games. But it's been a consistent theme. After we've played a great game, we've really struggled to kind of put 2 games back to back together. So hopefully this is a kind of a wake up call to our guys to kind of lock back in and try and go on the road and beat a Georgia team who had Tennessee beat, had Alabama beat, had Florida, kind of almost beat, they've almost beat some really good teams at home. So we're gonna be down in this game at Georgia. I guarantee it. Like we just got to hang in there and claw back and just stay patient because they're pretty good at home. But yeah, demoralizing is a ridiculous way to describe that game. Obviously, it was disappointing because we're playing them at home. We had a great opportunity to put ourselves in a really good spot in the league, and we just didn't take advantage of it. But that's just that's what's going to happen. So we just got to learn from it, bounce back, and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, you mentioned how hard it is. I mean, Purdue, right? Ohio State was 4-10 in the league, just fired their coach, beats Purdue, and we've seen a bunch of that. A bunch of top 10 teams going on the road and losing to unranked teams this year, more so than normal. Is it just a weird year? Is there are home environments just becoming harder to play? Are people just understanding how to sort of create harder home environments to go win in? What do you think is going into these? I mean, you mentioned Georgia should have had some home wins. Florida's unbelievable at home. Like, what do you think is going into some of that?
I think a lot of it's the transfer portal, to be completely honest with you. I think it has made teams that are, in the middle or the bottom of the league, a lot more competitive, a lot quicker. So you look at in our league, look at South Carolina, perfect example. Picked 14th by all the geniuses who call losing at home to Kentucky demoralizing. You look at Florida, they had the number one transfer portal class in the country, and obviously they're ranked in the top 25 this week, and they're in great position in the league. And like you said, they're really good at home. You look at Georgia, early in the year had one of the best wins. They went to South Carolina and beat South Carolina, and had Tennessee beat at home. So I think the transfer portal has made teams that need to catch up a little quicker, a lot more competitive sooner. So, and I think it's made teams a little more resilient throughout the year and very dangerous, because there's not a huge talent gap in the league anymore. There is a little bit, but from teams 4 through 12, there's a lot of really good players on those teams, and if they get hot and get going at the right time, they can knock off, obviously, really good teams. But at the end of the day, being in the top 10, being in the top 20, or being in the top of your league, when you go on the road, those teams are going to play harder. Or even when they come into your place, they're going to play harder. They're going to be obviously a little more sharp, because it's a big game. So it's just harder to win when you have that target on your back. And you've kind of seen it all across the country that no one's been safe from obviously losing on the road in tough environments. So I think it's a mixture of obviously teams getting excited to play big games, but then there's just not a huge talent gap anymore, because you're able to bring in some good players out of the portal and kind of re-up your team every year.
Couple more questions and we'll get you out of here. What's sort of the hope, the plan for this bye week? Yeah, got a chance to take maybe a couple of extra days off. What's sort of the mindset of the coaches and the team when you go into this thing? You don't want to, obviously you're going to continue to practice, but is it just take a few more days off? Is it rest? Does anything change, or do you just add an off day, or how does this bye week work?
We'll add an off day. I mean, we'll go today. We'll do some, individual workout stuff, skill development, shots, stuff like that. They'll get a really good lift in today. Won't go too hard on the floor, but we'll be productive. Obviously, we got to work on some things with the lineup, with obviously Jaylen being out. So we'll do that. We'll take tomorrow off, and then Wednesday, we'll get ready for the Georgia scout, and then Thursday, probably go live on Thursday to get ready for the Georgia game. Friday, just like a normal practice day before the game, and then travel to Athens on Friday. So one extra off day in there. Today won't be too strenuous on them, but we'll get some good skill work in. Guys will get a lot of shots, and just kind of prepare for what we got on Saturday. So, and then obviously all the while, getting guys back healthy. A couple guys got to obviously take some time off and get in the training room and get in the weight room with Coach D, and just kind of get ready for the final stretch that we have these last 5 games.
Yeah, I was going to end on that one, which is, you got 5 games left. You're still competing for an SEC championship. I mean, it's still within reach. But you got the tournament, you got the SEC tournament, you got the NCAA tournament to think about. How do you sort of approach the last 5 games and what you're looking for from your team? You obviously want to win, but you're thinking about, I want to be playing well going into March, rotation wise, whatever. You're kind of balancing wanting to play well now and also figuring some things out and wanting to play well in March, especially as you get into February. How do you guys view this, just these last few games? Nashville's coming up, NCAA's tournament's coming up. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, for us, with the guys, it's got to be a game-by-game situation. Obviously, we probably have to win the last 5 if you want to have a chance at winning the league. But, it's going to be really hard to do without Jaylen. And, even if we had Jaylen going to Tennessee, that was going to be hard to win regardless. So, but, you got to take it game by game. Obviously, the most important one is Saturday against Georgia. Got to find a way to go in there and steal one, and then just get ready for the next one. But like you said, I think the most important thing is continue to keep our confidence up, understand that, we've played some good basketball. We beat Alabama by 18. We beat South Carolina by 40. Those are 2 of the top teams in our league. So we've beaten two of the best teams in our league by a very large margin in our last 4 games. We just happened to lose to Florida and Kentucky, who are also two of the top 4 teams in our league. Our last 4 games have been against the top 4 teams in our league. So it's just, it's been a tough stretch. So got to work at it game by game, trying to obviously keep our confidence up, understand that shots will fall as long as we continue to play defense. We'll have a chance. So we can't look at it at a 5-game deal with the guys. It's got to be game by game and just trying to continue to improve, start to play our best basketball so we have a chance in Nashville and then the NCAA tournament to make a run.
Well, it's going to be fun. You guys have put yourself in position, as BP says, you're in position to be in position. So I think this team has already done a bunch of good stuff. We'll see how it goes these last 5 games, the NCAA tournament coming up. And they're capable of a lot. And I want to echo what you said about Jaylen. I posted on our board Sunday that exact thing. I said, y'all, just so you know, like, Jaylen is one of the best kids on this team. He's stuck it out through this program for years. Thought about leaving last year, came back, and it's just really good that his season and career at Auburn didn't end that way. He didn't deserve that, and so it was really, really great news that he gets a chance to hopefully come back on his own terms and all that good stuff. So I want to echo what you said there. That was really awesome stuff, man. I appreciate you joining us. Good luck these last 5 games, and we'll all be paying very close attention, no doubt.
All right, Hope. Appreciate you, man.
You got it. All right, everybody. See you. Go to auburnlive.com, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.